Hi everyone, welcome to FTInsights. I'm Mike Fibus. Next week I'll be trekking out to San Jose for the Samsung Developer Conference. At the event each year, Samsung invariably showcases all the tech that pushes the boundaries of mobile innovation. So I'm sure we'll get to hear the latest on 5G, AI, and IoT. This year, though, there's another major theme flowing through the conference. It's called Building Trust with Samsung Devices. Samsung Knox is at the core of the company's efforts to give us the safest mobile platform to work with. Now, many consumers and developers tend to take Knox for granted, which is really too bad because it has just so much to offer. As a consumer, I love the Secure Folder, which is a container solution that allows you to keep your most personal information secure and out of view, like your banking apps and private photos. But Secure Folder is just the tip of the iceberg. Samsung actually has a whole treasure trove of built-in Knox security hardware, software, and services. Today, we'll dig in and learn more about what businesses, developers, even individuals can do to take advantage of all that Knox has to offer. And here to do that with us, we're fortunate to have Keith Fuentes. Keith is Samsung Vice President of Knox Global Sales. Keith, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Mike. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so what is available? How can folks dig in and take more advantage of what we as consumers know as the Secure Folder?
Right. So you mentioned the Knox platform and the Secure Folder products, which basically when you think of Knox, it comes on all Samsung devices. It's a product that is built into the device at factory incarnation. So every device you buy from Samsung in the flagship family of phones, tablets, wearables, they come with Knox already onboarded. As a consumer, of course, you can go to the Google Play Store and utilize Secure Folder and other products that we make available for free. From an enterprise perspective and from a B2B perspective or a B2G, business to business, business to government, we then offer a wide suite of products that can harness that power with the Knox platform that comes on your device out of box so that you can take this device and do things at an enterprise level. So there's kind of a choose your own adventure that we are providing so that customers can really build the specific solution they require for their business needs.
Okay, and so that means all I have to do to get Knox is buy devices?
So the core of Knox will come with your device, and there will be certain things that are inherent for free that you can utilize with some of our what we call standard SDKs or Knox Platform for Enterprise standard SDKs. And corporations and other partners like, say, Google, for example, will harness the Knox capability on our devices out of the box for your solution. Now, again, those will give you a foundational piece. Depending on what your organization wants to achieve or where they want to take that product and use the product, we then offer our own set of software suites, and we have third-party apps we've partnered with where they've taken the security maybe a little higher, or they've taken the control and configuration capabilities to another level so that you can build a purpose-built business device. And there's several examples I can give you in each phase. But that's really the core of what we're doing here is we're trying to change, and we have been since 2013, kind of change the game where we as a manufacturer will provide you a foundational piece with the Knox platform, and then to show you examples of how that can be utilized, we provide a suite of software and solutions that will harness that power.
Okay, interesting. So what, anything you can point to that some customers are doing that, that really make use of the Knox capabilities?
Yeah, absolutely. So going back to the beginning, it was really a core security play. It was coming in and showing you that we're going to do something more secure than anybody else, and we're going to invoke a philosophy that was actually learned at the laptop level many years ago with the TPM, Trusted Protocol Module, where you can have the best OS security, you can have the best file folder encryption, you can have the best VPN antivirus, but if somebody had access to the device or could get to below the operating system access, a binary or a kernel, we wanted to protect that. So who would care? Well, in the beginning, it was going to be regulated markets. It was going to be those that had business purpose on a device that per regulation, if anything was to be divulged from an attack or a hack or just user negligence, that company would be liable for it. Like, let's say, credit card information. So we would see the regulated markets the first to want to look at this type of solution because they needed that added assurance if they were going to invoke the power of a true mobile device, as small as a cell phone mobile device, that was going to be in their hands out on the street, but they wanted to make sure from that business purpose they could lock it down. Now, where it's evolved to is in the total customer journey. What I think people see when they turn to mobility or digitally transform is there's a beginning stage, which would be your implementation, where you would have to configure and then enroll these devices. And if you're a large organization, this is a very difficult task, A, to do it securely, and B, to do it fast enough and agile enough and have cost savings. So where Knox starts to evolve in year 2 and 3 is it takes the platform and then harnesses that strength and builds configuration tools, mass deployment enrollment tools. So there's several different Knox products that were made available, one which was free, Knox Mobile Enrollment, to allow you to massively enroll products quickly into your organization. So that wasn't necessarily meant to be a secure story, even though it was meant to be a business betterment. And then we came out with Knox Configuration to take that even to the next level, to say, most companies in the market, our competitors, they'll give you enrollment tools. But we want to take it a step further. We want to give you a configuration tool that allows you to purpose build that device through profiling, creating separate profiles per department or group so that it's automated, it's secure, it's fast, and it's not circumvented by an end user, and it's something that would actually benefit your business financially and so forth. And again, that was a trend we set that wasn't being done at that scale at the time we did it. So just kind of an example of how we've evolved year over year.
Okay. Anything in, say, government, where it's maybe not, a regulatory issue, but a critical, I'll call it business or, organizational issue where this has to be secure or else?
Definitely. So I'll give an example. So I just mentioned to you about enrollment and configuration. If you were to go back 4 or 5 years ago and you were a large organization and you wanted to not just procure and buy devices, but put the devices in the field, and it could be a government agency where you have your agents or people in your agency all scattered around throughout the world or the U.S. itself, and they're not always going to be at your local offices. Some of them might be working from home offices. Some of them might be working with another joint agency, and this is true on corporations as well. In the past, how you would get them their device, especially if you were a company that at the time was manually configuring that device. So you would receive the device out of the box, bring it to your facility. You'd have a group of administrators that their job was to make sure this device was built for your business purpose. And all that manual labor, there was a risk of, if they mistyped or forgot to do one procedure, we automated that. Second, we ensured that that automation could tell and know which device it was going to on a per-device basis so that you didn't push your profile to the wrong device. You wouldn't want somebody with their own personal device receiving the image of one of the biggest name brands in retail, for example, all of a sudden hitting their phone when that wasn't the phone under that particular company. So we were able to secure how you got it to the device. We were able to do it over the air, and then we were able to do it automatically. So what used to take weeks to get devices into the hands of a user could take minutes. So you could drop ship devices straight to the location of those users, whether it was their personal home or remote office, make it out of the box, connect it to the network, and then immediately get the look and feel and purpose-built device the corporation wanted, and in a lockdown, or I would call it open but secure manner, so that the users could do their job in the manner you wanted them to.
Right, and it's sort of, bare metal secure, which, which is a great, whatever the opposite of an umbrella is, right? At the very bottom.
The defense-grade security, and I think one of the things you can do is you can go to Google and do a search on Samsung for classified, and that'll give you an example of when we were the first to ever give you an out-of-the-box experience to allow a consumer off-the-shelf device to just add software and be able to work on classified networks. That had not been done before. Usually you had to manipulate hardware at a huge cost, but once you had the Knox platform and you had this third-party certified through common criteria and FIPS methodology, you were able to actually take consumer off-the-shelf devices and just add software to make them defense-grade.
That's a nice touch, and that helps in those emergency situations too, where you can't depend on the fleet to hand out the the hardware. You've got to run to Verizon store or wherever.
Exactly. And to be honest with you, devices, when they say you have an issue with your device in the field, imagine if you had to return a device or exchange a device, and then the company goes through that whole process again. In an automated world, you can swap out a device, they can remote wipe it, provide you the new device with its new configuration, automated over the air. It's a very quick, and again, it's not necessarily, although it's totally secured, it's really a business enablement tool. So it's less a security story as much as it's about, improving your business. And I really see that the customers I visit, from a customer success perspective, it's dealing with customers through their whole journey. And what we're seeing is, because of the technology that's there, customers are almost forced to digitally transform. Because today, the threat isn't the project you may implement that fails. The threat is the projects you don't implement that your competition does implement that makes them more competitive than you were to start. I mean, would any of us have guessed 6, 7 years ago someone would create an app and own the transportation business in relatively several years, not even owning a vehicle at the time? But they did, because they implemented something so savvy, so special, it changed the market. So digital transformation, we're seeing it across the board. And what Samsung's taking in our approach is to provide them this platform so that they can not just have the security piece, that's coming, that's there, but also the business betterment, so they can be more agile and really take advantage of the digital transformation they're going to experience.
Now, that's a great argument, not only for security, but operational flexibility. That's powerful. What about security for security's sake? I mean, what sort of things are your customers doing that way?
Yeah, good question. So one of the things we see all the time is there's really 3 threats that most companies are having trouble sleeping at night over. The first threat, of course, is a spear phishing attack where somebody has targeted their organization. Those are pretty dangerous because they're spending time to try to research you, find ways to breach you and to attack you. And a mobile device to them might be an endpoint or a threat vector that they can exploit. So you always want to have a solution that's going to protect the endpoint, not just from a virtual attack, but a physical attack. And Knox will give you that. The second one we always see is what's the most talked about one, which are these virtual attacks where somebody's writing malicious code and they're trying to come through your networks or Wi-Fi and try to take control and do stuff to your device. And a lot of times those are targeted at an operating system, or they're targeted at a specific application you're going to run on that device. So again, having a security that's hardware and software based, that's below the operating system, that can actually integrity check the kernel and the binary is, again, a methodology Knox has harnessed from its beginning, so that even a virtual attack, it can have an extra layer of protection or an ability that other products can't. The third one, which I think really will hit on the answer to your question, is the one that companies have the hardest time defending, which is just user error. The employee that clicks on the site by accident, the employee that maybe opens and downloads an app they shouldn't, not because they're being malicious, but just because they're just being negligent or they just didn't know better. And that's where you need a security solution that is fully managed and fully at an enterprise-grade level, so that you can set it without the user even knowing it's there to protect the user from themselves. And one example is access control. How you open your phone, how you access different applications on your phone. And if you look at what Samsung's done with the power of Knox, is really created ways to use beyond a fixed password. Fixed passwords are popular for one reason. They're easy to change. So if you get compromised, change your fixed password. But there are other options out there that are a little more robust, and they can give you even a quicker access to the device, like biometrics and other things. So Samsung tries to take latest, greatest technology from a security perspective, but use it to allow the users to do something at a speed they couldn't do before. So I travel, and when I travel all the time, one of the things I have is my luggage in my hands. I'm going through an airport, and something important for work is going to flare up. It's a difficult thing if every time I have to stop, take 2 hands, put in a fixed password, get access to my device, then put in a fixed password to get access to an area that maybe I need for that call. With biometrics, it's incredible. I'm able at a speed of seconds to just grab my phone, touch it, get into it, go to where I need to on the phone, touch it, get into it, and it doesn't impede me from catching that flight. That's an example of a secure solution that really has bettered my life, and it's because of the security protocols being so user-friendly. They've allowed me to use latest and greatest tech. and do my job in a better, more efficient way.
Right. So I know next week at the Samsung Developer Conference, B2B, B2G is really going to be front and center. So as a developer, what should I watch for in San Jose next week?
Hey, great question. What I think people should see with Samsung and why a developer. Let's start with the developers before we get to the organizations that'll be there. But from a developer standpoint, I would be excited because Samsung is going to offer them access and support to build apps of the future in a way no one else can. It's kind of like the wizard behind the curtain. We're going to let them behind the curtain and give them access not just to the levers, but to create their own new levers to do something as the all-powerful Oz, so to speak. So what we're going to do is, if you look at what's called the Knox platform for enterprise, it really is comprised of three things. It has standard CSDK or standard SDKs. Those are free. It has enterprise SDKs. We charge for those, and they're a full suite of all the most powerful things we allow you to do on our device from a control or from a programming perspective. And then we have custom SDK. And the custom SDK allows you to pick and choose from the APIs we make available that are very unique and powerful so that you can build something so special that you might make the app that might be the next one that changes the market. And you can do it harnessing the power and the integrity measurement of what we give you from the Knox platform. So an example of that is we see devices like these in the field every day being used for logistical purposes, where people are using them, whether it's scanning barcodes or something from a purpose-built for business. The problem you'll have is most devices that you'll buy off the shelf, their cameras are built, say, for taking pictures of your family. So they will take time to focus and do things so you get the best picture of that scenery, of that person, whatever. For a business, that's not necessarily what they need. They need speed. Maybe it's a hospital with 1,000 vials spinning and they want to capture those barcodes. As a developer, if you are given access to, in the partnership you have with Samsung, the ability to harness APIs that aren't standard, but are actually very specific and very powerful, such as maybe the control of the camera's focusing mechanism, so that you can write an application that's very specific to that line of business, and we will empower you to do it. You can then come up with something that your product will be implemented the best on our hardware and provide the customer something that they need for their business that didn't exist before. And we've seen that. Now, you mentioned on a government side, we've seen that where people are out in the field and they're maybe working in climates. So say you have somebody doing an audit or a geographical exploration where they're in a very bright sun area. Well, that means they may want to change the brightness on the phone beyond what you offer them standard. So again, there's a custom API that gives them access from an app perspective or to build a custom configuration so that that user in that specific scenario can have greater control. That's a betterment. So what we want to do, and I think you'll see at the SDC, is partner with these developers and help them to build the applications of the future, because the marketing is showing and the data is showing that business-to-business applications revenue is skyrocketing. So what used to always be consumer-based, now we're seeing business-based applications are becoming extremely popular and very lucrative. So kind of a build, buy, benefit scenario for us, the developers, organizations.
The great and powerful Oz, I like that. If I'm a developer, obviously I'm no stranger to APIs, but what sort of ramp up is there to get me ready to be Oz, in a sense, to make me effective with the custom APIs?
Well, that's a great question. You'll see at the SDC, they'll walk you through. There's going to be a few demonstrations to show about just how easy it is from going through what we call our Samsung Enterprise Approved Partnership site, which you will partner with us. You'll go through and agree to some terms to be a partner with us. And then once you're on board with that, then it's kind of the choose your own adventure of, are you looking to accomplish something using standard APIs? Do you want the enterprise full gamut, or are you looking to customize? And then we will coach and guide and provide you with the tools so that when you're coding your solution, you can make that solution work in the manner you're looking for, not just from the APIs and security perspective, but from the performance perspectives.
So, Keith, all this is great, but can you give us any examples of organizations that have really benefited from Knox and how?
Yeah, I have a couple stories that I find fascinating, and they were so fun to be a part of. One was in a healthcare perspective. There was this smaller niche hospital that had discovered that when it comes to building your practices or building your hospital patient list, many times in the past, people chose their doctors based on online research or the number of surgeries, the number of successes, and it was always based on the doctor. So what we found was for hospitals that wanted to gain footing, they would go out and recruit the best doctors because those doctors brought the patients. So here was a hospital that didn't have the funding necessarily to afford the greatest doctors in the area or the most accomplished doctors in the area, but you still wanted to try to penetrate that market and build up their practice. They took a different approach. They looked at the generation that's hitting the need to actually access hospitals at their age and discovered that this younger generation is so digitally savvy that they don't research the doctors as much as they research the hospital itself and the experience they're going to have when they're in the room. So if you look at where the patients are going to be waiting, if you're looking at where the patients are going to be in recovery, if you're looking at where the patients may have to do an overnight stay, if they built the patient's room of the future and gave the patients the best digital experience, the interesting thing with that generation is they blog about it, they talk about it, they go online and they speak to it in the masses. And then what ends up happening is fellow users at that savvy of a level start choosing that hospital because they know if they go to that hospital, they're going to have a tablet in the room. That tablet in the room is going to give them access like as if they were on an airplane to their Netflix account, to other things, so they can have entertainment in the room. They don't even have to bring a device and worry about it being lost or stolen while they're sleeping. It's already there by the hospital. The hospital takes it and uses it multi-factor. They have it one for the patient, and then when they flip the tablet the other side, it's for the nurse, and it goes into full secure mode so the nurse can access what's your allergies and what's your different medications. So now this tablet is giving a business purpose to the nurses and the doctors. It's giving a patient experience that's driving the patients to the hospital, and then through the Knox security has the ability to 1 and 0 wipe itself in minutes and reset itself for the next patient every time a new patient comes in. What you have is a secure solution that better enabled this hospital to do something it couldn't have done in the past, harnessing digital transformation, but more importantly, it drove patients, and when the hospital's patient base grew, guess who wanted to come next? The doctors. Because if you were just building your practice on a generation that from the past, you knew that you needed to somehow also align yourself with the generation of the future. So it actually flipped the script a little bit on what we would have saw 10 or 15 years ago for choice of hospital. So that was an exciting one, and the hospital flourished for it. Second one was a restaurant business. We went to a restaurant business, and when we were consulting with them, we asked them, what's your mission? What are you trying to accomplish? And they said, we always want to increase profit. And so the question came out, when you look at your profits, what's your biggest issue? And they said, we have a problem. We can't get people's tables cleaned fast enough, with people to their tables fast enough so that they can order their food, get their food, eat their food, and number one, order dessert. And we said, interesting, why dessert? And they said, it's the most lucrative, other than alcohol, it's the most lucrative thing on the menu. Desserts make us the biggest profit. So when we don't get them to their table fast enough, when we don't serve them their food fast enough, when they eat slower, they get full faster, and they don't order desserts. And they don't tip our staff, which makes it hard to keep good staff. So we want to come up with solutions to where we can know the table needs to be cleaned, know the tables that are available to get them seated, know how we can get an order to them when it's ready. So they partnered with Samsung to create a mixture environment where wearables on the nurses, wearables on the bus table boys, so where you knew what seats were open, what seats needed cleaning, and you had a watch that would vibrate and help tell you where to go if your order was up to get your order delivered. And they were able to build this ecosystem digitally in a secure way that they could get the food, get the tables clean, get the people seated, and get them their food fast enough so that they were hungry enough to still want to order dessert. And what happened was, over the time, after implementing the solution, dessert orders started going up at a very rapid pace, profit went up, and the waitresses actually started to see, and waiters, tips that wanted to encourage them to stay. So from an entire business, they saw growth, which you would have thought Knox security, but this was really Knox business enablement.
Interesting. So next time I'm at a restaurant and I'm still hungry at dessert time, I may have found your client, I guess, huh?
Exactly.
So I know we're about out of time, Keith. What can't you believe I haven't asked you yet?
Well, you talked about the SDC. I think something really exciting. If you're attending the SDC, I highly encourage you on Wednesday, October 30th, 10 a.m., go find the B2B presentation, hear something you haven't heard before, see something you haven't seen before, and join our family and building the next great thing. Thank you.
Excellent. I'm I'll be there. I'll see you at the keynote on Wednesday. So Keith, once again, thank you so much for your time and your insights. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it too, and anytime. Thanks, Mike.
And thank you all for joining us as well. Until next time, bye-bye.